Are you a solopreneur, a team of 5 ready to scale, or a remote team in SLC looking for a new space? Look no further. The Square has everything you need. Fast Wi-Fi, meeting rooms, great coffee, daily breakfast and snack, and a vibrant community to keep you inspired. From dedicated desks to private offices and enterprise suites, there's a space for you. No matter where you are in the journey, the Square has a spot to help you succeed. Check out the Square's co-working and flexible office space today and take your work to the next level. Let's be honest, we're all juggling a lot these days. Between work, family, and everything else, the last thing you need is to spend hours dealing with car-related tasks. That's where Fleetly comes in. Fleetly is your personal car concierge service designed to give you your time back. Need an oil change, car service, ride to the airport, Fleetly takes care of it. Want your vehicle detailed or even sold? Fleetly's got you covered. No more waiting in lines, no more wasted weekends at the shop, just more time to do what really matters, whether it's growing your career, enjoying moments with your family, or just kicking back and relaxing. Right now, Small Lake City listeners can get 10% off with code SLCPOD at checkout. Visit Fleetly.com and let them handle the hassle so you don't have to. Again, use SLCPOD at checkout for 10% off.
I feel like I've been impacted more than I'm impacting, How can I not give back?
Yeah.
And it's part of like how I collective, right? I mean, we're all better together.
Deseret.
Most of us.
Yes.
It's like, all right, here's my time. And Publik on West Temple had been open. He comes back in and he goes, oh shit, we're doing that now, aren't we? Yeah, our secret ingredient is we give a shit.
Okay.
We were given best coffee roaster in Utah by Food and Wine in 2022, and that's like a blind. I feel really lucky. I can't believe the people that work for me and our customers and this city.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson, and this week's guest is someone who, as I've looked down further and further in various rabbit holes around Salt Lake, there's someone who kept popping up along the way. From my conversation with Cassandra Verbruggen of Spy Hop to my conversation with Aaron Mendenhall, the mayor, and from my conversation with Sherry Jensen with the Junior League and Women Helping Women, the woman by the name of Missy Greis continues to come up in the most impactful way. Now, if you're familiar with Missy, you know her claim to fame around Salt Lake is around Publik, Public Coffee, and Public Kitchen. But what a lot of people don't know is how involved she is in the community in so many other meaningful ways. But she's also really invested in some other projects that you might be aware of, like the Ballpark Project or the new co-op market that's going in on 9th South. So she has a great perspective of the city. She's not from here, but has come to love it. And it's very obvious in our conversation how passionate she is about Salt Lake. So without any further ado, Missy Greis, you're going to love this one. I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy.
Yeah, so Blake Spalding
from
from Hell's Backbone.
Yes.
She's,
Well, and that was like...
I mean, that's a conversation.
Oh, totally.
It's not Salt Lake, but...
Well, that's part of... I was going to do it in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Which was... I kind of wanted to do like a Southern Utah road trip.
Yeah.
And reach out to like any like the van or RV renters, purchasers, whatever, and be like, hey, give me a van for a month. I'm going to go down around Southern Utah. We'll go to the national parks. We'll film all the cool stuff. I'm going to interview a bunch of people. You'll have your branding on it all and go visit. And that was the original idea of interviewing them at Hell's Backbone, but then also going and I want to interview the the head ranger at Zion. I want to go talk to the guy who's doing Black Desert right now. Some of those things, because there's so many cool things going on down there too.
So many.
And selfishly.
Blake will tell you stories, which, I don't know how political you get, probably not very, but
there's
the mayor of Boulder is this woman, and she's full on QAnon conspiracy theorist, and she's the mayor.
Which is the opposite of Blake.
And I'm like... How's that go for you? Because Aaron's been a friend forever, and I think about what would we do? How would we even function? As a city, you got to be neutral.
Yeah,
it's
no longer
you're running town.
It's not your, like, and that's the thing I struggle with a lot, especially today of all days, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing about it is I think about like what I would want to see, again, like if I could pick my political leader of wherever it is, like I want a leader who, they have opinions, they have convictions, they have whatever, but at the end of the day, you're there to serve the people that are there for you. And sometimes, even if it's against what you fundamentally believe in, but your community or population, the people you serve need something else, like time to take a humility pill and go do what's best.
So Blake just navigates that. So she's just keep me on track because I can go.
Oh, I can go anywhere. Like the amount of, I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. Like I'm already a yapper, especially if there's some sort of like, and I know enough about most things. I can talk to anybody about something that they want to talk about. Yeah. And as soon as you get, like, especially once I pivot from like a conversation of sharing things I know to being like, oh, you know more than me, now I'm going to listen. Like that's when people get either stuck with me or like we start to have a really good conversation.
They're probably not stuck with you. They're probably just like, tell me more.
I like to. That's what I tell myself, and people have told me.
Yeah, tell yourself that.
I've learned through enough experiences that like I am a pretty good conversationalist, and so I'd like to think that people enjoy it, but then again, everybody's different. I would never force myself on anybody.
Whatever.
Yeah.
People are weird. People are great. People are stupid. People are messy. People are,
And we can all be that at the same time. Mm-hmm. But it was, this will release after it go, but I recorded with Erin Mendenhall last week.
Oh, you did?
And it was fun just to kind of get her kind of perspective on how she sees like the people and population of Salt Lake. And like, I mean, it was so fun because there's a lot of opinions or thoughts of people that I go into a conversation and I'll be like, oh yeah, this, that. And like, but Missy, I've edited enough of these episodes to know that I usually start by saying, I'm excited to talk to you today, but this is one that I mean it more than I probably ever have. And I'll tell you why. Because like whenever I'm looking at guests or like thinking about who I want to have on, it's usually my own kind of curiosity going down a lot of these rabbit holes and just kind of seeing where the buck stops. Yeah. And so it's so fun to see these people that have come across that I weren't aware of before or were aware of but didn't understand the depth of it all, where, I mean, you'll start at this leaf and this leaf will turn into a twig and this twig will turn into a branch until you either get to the trunk or this very, very thick branch, and you are one of those people.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's been so fun. Like I remember
so nice.
Like of like how we got here today from my perspective. I want you to hear this too, because it's like fun. We've talked about it a little bit, but so I was at a concert with one of my really good friends, Taylor Brody, and he's someone who, I mean, he caught the vision of kind of what I wanted to do early on. He's like, whatever I can do to help, if there's ever an intro, let's do it. Yeah. So whenever I see him, he's always gives me an idea, and it's usually like a good one. Yeah. And so we're sitting there waiting for 30 Seconds to Mars to show up, and he's like, you should have Missy Greis.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah, like, I mean, you think about, and this is just from my like public understanding. Yeah. I'm like, yeah,
Public
like
with a C or public with a K?
Public with a K.
Okay.
Big differentiator, which I also didn't know is Dutch for community. At first I thought it was just like
a little butchered, but yes, community gathering. Yeah.
Good execution. I love a good like double entendre. Yeah. Not quite anyway, I digress. But so I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've loved everything that you've built. And then kind of not only that you've built, but the things that you've kind of preserved, which I want to get to on the public side. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I record with a friend who mentions, oh my gosh, Spy Hop. Yeah. And then I'm getting ready to sit down with Cassandra Verbruggen and being like, Missy, okay, interesting. Like here she is getting involved with this. And even actually, I'm going to do something I've never done in an episode. I'm going to get my phone out and read a list.
Oh gosh.
If I can find, oh wait, there's my phone. No, I knew that. I thought about this when I was setting up, and thankfully I had this.
Spy Hop. Spy Hop is one of the most unsung heroes of this country. I mean, started small here in Salt Lake City, but the things that they have done, and I can't even tell you, like that board, the people that sit on that board are some of my favorite people. They're not all my best friends, but I've become really close with a lot of them. And some of them are my best friends. But collectively, that is a group of people that, I mean, they show up.
Yeah.
And they show up in every corner of their life. These are not people that just dabble.
Yeah, it's like people like Chris Lee was one that like I was surprised.
He's new, yes.
Because he's someone who I mean, for those who don't know, Chris Lee, founder of, however you pronounce it, Artifact or RTFTK, one of like the only NFT companies to really kind of like reach the upper echelon, acquired by Nike. And like, there's more to the story there, but he's usually kind of stayed out of the public eye for a lot of reasons. But then he's like, yeah, I'll put my name on this. So like, again, like high caliber people. Yeah. Continue.
Really, really incredible people. I mean, if you can just read the letterhead, you know, and just see, but like, Jenny Plum, who's an old friend, and I met her dad before I met her. He actually sold me the building that Avenues Publik is in.
Interesting.
And while we were going through the negotiations, he started talking about his daughter, Jenny. And it was just Jenny this, Jenny that, Jenny this. Well, legal name is Melissa.
Okay.
Right. So he was calling me Melissa, but he was kind of doing it tongue in cheek because I was like, I don't go by that. And he's like, well, now you do. And then he said, I'm adopting you because I only have one daughter. And he said, I think I need to add a Melissa. So Jenny calls me Melissa. I call her Jenny. I think I'm the only person. I mean,
just a normal real estate transaction. You're now my kin.
You're now my kid.
Daughter.
And then it wasn't that many months later that she was proposed for the Spy Hop board.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, we have never met. I'm your sister.
Small Lake City.
Yeah.
I love those moments of like things like get personal quickly. And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Because like on top of the Spy Hop stuff, I mean, you're on the board of directors for the Salt Lake City Police Foundation.
Yes.
Junior League of Salt Lake City, who I had Sherry Jensen on and talk about her work in Women Helping Women.
Yes.
And so that was another one. I was like, of course she is. And then we had, Hive Eats, which I was reminded of that because I remember using it during the pandemic to get food. And then so I'm like, of course she started this.
Well, I didn't start it by myself. And also, Eric, I don't do any of this by myself.
Well, no good story is ever alone.
Yeah. Yeah. But Hive Eats that's a hilarious story if you want to talk about that.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
And then, Breathe Utah, like I said, I had Erin last week.
That's how I met Erin.
Yeah.
Erin was the volunteer coordinator. And her son was in the little baby carrier, and he's now a freshman in college.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's how I met Erin.
Yeah. So it's like all of these little things that I've touched on other conversations with people. And of course, if there's this invisible hand behind it all, trying to make the community better, it's your name. So,
well, so I moved here in 1997 with my now ex-husband for his job. I wasn't working at the time. We hadn't had our daughter yet. And I quickly joined the Junior League. And I think all roads lead back to the Junior League.
Interesting. And
Junior Leagues across the country kind of have a funny reputation, but the Salt Lake Junior League is really, really cool. It's, a lot of people are outdoor people and there's not a lot of pearls and fancy. These are women that like to get their hands dirty and make the world a better place. And I just think moving here and doing that, it opened every door for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. It's like this network of women. Because everybody that we've talked about that's a connection back to you is a woman that's in a leadership role that you were able to impact and help along the way.
I feel like I've been impacted more than I'm impacting.
It's not mutually exclusive.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. Salt Lake City has been so good to me. How can I not give back? Yeah. And it's part of how I was raised, and I was raised in that town that shall not be named. But the people there and then in the 70s and 80s, these were really creative, eccentric, wonderful, heartful, soulful people that everybody gave a shit about each other and about the town. And so I kind of saw that growing up, and I came here and I was like, oh my gosh, same place. Everybody here really gives a shit. Most people. Yeah. And if you meet the people that do, you're so lucky because you're like, okay, let's do it together. Oh, yeah. That's been one of my favorite things is the more I get to meet those people, the people that give a shit, the people that want to be here and lift where they stand, it's fun to be like, hey, I'll message them. They'll message or call me like, hey, I have this idea. I want to, can we do this together? Yeah, that'd be so cool. We can bring this person in and do this. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the creative juices are flowing. There's these ideas coming together and it's not about all right, so let's talk about who gets what or how we're going to break down costs. It's let's focus on the important things. Yeah. And we'll circle back on that whenever we need to. Yeah. But when you first came to Salt Lake, I like that you had this kind of
slap in the face of like, oh my gosh, like the junior leagues here, this sense of community that I have. And I love the give a shit part of things. Like when I was in traveling in the van around the country, I was up in Washington and I went to this dog because I had my dogs with me. And so I'd always go to the local dog park and I got a lot of opinions about good and bad dog parks. But there was this one I was at in it wasn't Port Townsend. It was up. If anyone's from Washington, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's where you get on the ferry to go to the San Juan Islands. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget because there was this fence. So you come into the dog park and it's kind of like well-maintained, which isn't very common in most places. But you look and there's this, on the fence, there's like a place to hang like 5 different ball throwers. There's a bucket of balls and Frisbees and everything. And it's all there. It's all stored in the right place. And it's because like, that is one of my, like, that's when like I understood what community meant. It's a place where people can extend, people can trust, people can feel safe around. And it's a unique feeling because sometimes, especially in today's world, it's hard to find the people that give a shit or do want to not take advantage of things for their own personal benefit.
Well, the collective, right? We're all better together.
Deseret.
Most of us.
Yes. Yeah. Most of us. Yes. So you move here, you get involved in the community at the junior league. Yeah. What were you working on at that time, or like what did you see yourself playing a role in the community?
So I didn't really know. I just knew that I would be able to connect in a more deep way to Salt Lake City and learn Salt Lake City. And I, kind of came in very ignorant of the culture, and I knew the mountains. I had skied here before, but I had never spent any time as an adult here. And I just, what had happened was I bought the building on 9th and 9th.
Okay.
When we moved here.
Oh, so this was like a long time
1997.
Ago. Wild. Okay.
So for $187,000, and it was a lot of money. And my grandfather, who helped me because he was an incredible man, he was like, I don't believe in this, but I can give it to you now, or I can give it to you when I'm dead. He was just like, you're a fool, basically, right? So I bought that building and I put a little business in it, and a woman came to sell me advertising for my business, and she was in the junior league, and she said, you should join the junior league. And I was like, isn't that like fancy ladies? Like, she's like, not here. So that's how it began.
Interesting.
Is that building on 9th and 9th. Yeah.
What was the first business that was there? Or what did you do at the beginning?
It was... karma kind of bites you in the butt sometimes. So this was before Color Me Mine had franchised. Okay. And I had been living in LA for a minute, and I was like, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to do it in Salt Lake when we move there. Okay. We were living in Pittsburgh at the time, which a whole other story. But I had seen this Color Me Mine thing, and I brought it here, but I called it Flying Colors. Okay. And I put it in that little house. Okay. And then I had my daughter, and I couldn't see how to be a small business owner with 11 really young college-age employees and a brand new baby. So I sold it to my manager, and then I was her landlord. And then she did it for a couple of years, and then she was finished. And then I just had a series of tenants in there. So I had an architect, I had a home store, and then the last store was the Ninth South Deli. Okay. And that gentleman had converted it into a restaurant.
Perfect for you.
And he didn't want to extend. I think he had he was a retired engineer who did the construction well and right. And he was also of the predominant faith. And so he was closed on Sundays. And that neighborhood never really embraced him because that's a Sunday neighborhood, So he didn't extend his lease. And I was like, all right, here's my time. And Publik on West Temple had been open for about a year and a half. Okay. And then Avenues had just barely gotten back on track for construction. And I just hired a new general manager who I love, who's still with me after 9 years. Wow. Puts up with me.
Those are the people you keep around.
Oh my gosh. All of my entire leadership team. And I was like, hey, in addition to Public Coffee, we're going to do Public Kitchen. And he was like, what is Public Kitchen? I was like, this. And he was like, okay, let's go.
What a good response.
Yeah.
So what backing up a tiny bit, but where did the idea for Publik, the original idea, come from?
Oh my gosh. 2012, my grandfather, the wonderful grandfather, he was on his way out, and he told me that I was going to inherit this building in California and that it had a tenant in it and there was no way I would be able to manage it from here and that I needed to be looking for some sort of exchange. So a 1031 exchange, which is like helps your tax basis.
Yeah, asset to asset, so you don't have to pay tax.
Yeah, so I bought West Temple and the Avenues.
Okay.
And I had a partner at the time and that partnership dissolved really quickly. We just had zero alignment with
Better sooner than later.
Please, yes. And I'm so grateful that it ended quickly. But he was really the food and beverage guy. I was the more marketing, community, design, renovation. I had done construction projects before. Totally. So when that ended, I brought Joe in. And Joe came in and he undid all the things that were done wrong and put things back together in a way. And I was like, and by the way, in 30 days, this kitchen situation is going to be coming up. And then in 60 days, this avenue situation is coming up. And we're going to go from one location and 11 employees to 3 locations and like 35 employees. And he was like, game on, let's go. Yeah.
What a good attitude to have. Because there's a lot of people, and even myself, like, even if I said like, I'm excited, let's go, but there'd still be this voice in my head being like, we're about to learn a lot of things real quickly. Yeah.
He's a master. I mean, he is so good. He has Starbucks background, restaurant background. He's in his late 40s and he knows how to do this. And you know what? I always tell people, I'm like, nothing happens without him. Nothing would be happening without Joe.
I love that.
He's the best.
I mean, especially like you were alluding to, like none of this I did alone.
None of it.
And also like good people attract good people. Like energies come together. And so of what I've learned from you and already experienced from you, it's like, yeah, of course the right person came to you and it wants to have the same vision. And,
you have
and
to
goals
like manifest in certain ways, right?
Yeah, but
no, I mean, I'm surrounded by, I have 9 people on my leadership team, plus Ashley, who does all of our events. And like Spencer's our manager at Avenues. Hannah is at Public Kitchen. Stuart is at West Temple. The roastery's run by Lindsay, Silvana, and Megan. And then Luna is our barista trainer. And then Jason is our executive chef, and he's over all the food for Public, but then he's over the kitchen at Public Kitchen that's run by Berkeley. And then Joe.
It takes a village.
100%. And you always have to hire the people that know things that you don't know. I always say Joe knows everything. And that's kind of his job, is to know everything about the managers underneath him.
Totally.
Right? But always hire people smarter than you that know things that you don't know. And then you just kind of add to that.
Exactly.
Oh, that's my philosophy.
No, I don't disagree at all. Like, because so many people try to be controlling, hands-on, want to be involved in everything. But at the end of the day, if you hire everyone that's the exact same, then you can't all do the same things and you're not going to do new things as well as someone who's already done those new things. I never like to brainstorm or like riff with people who have like the exact same like perspective and thoughts with me. Like that doesn't help
because
either.
You're going to have cracks in the foundation, right? Bingo. You got to have everything buttressed up by just all the thoughts too, all the opinions and perspectives. And very often I think you can't always take everybody's advice or opinion and implement, but most of the time you can.
Yeah.
You know?
So I love that this goes from, I also love that your grandpa's involved in all of this, where it's like, first thing he's like, all right, Missy, like, good luck. If you want to go waste your money, go waste your money. Fast forward, he's like, also, by the way, this is kind of going good. And here's this, you could do this to do like more dreams and expand.
I think he still was questioning. He was questioning the fact that I lived here.
Fair.
Right? I mean, he was a hardcore, like, Republican from California, but he was also like, I've driven through Utah. I got pulled over there once when I was driving your mom to University of Colorado. So my mom went to see you and skied there. And he's like, I'll never forget. He's like, that's a weird place.
Yeah, if you're driving through and pulled over, anyway, yes. If anybody who disagrees with that, quick combo.
Yeah. And this was also in the 60s.
Yes,
right?
when it was even weirder.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about like 2 things. One that is, I know happened, and the other one I was going to look into more, admittedly, but I didn't. But the first one is Big Ed's. So Big Ed's for me was like a big part of college. Like I was in Greek life, a lot of Sunday mornings and mornings in general, we would walk over hungover and get breakfast, burger, whatever. So it was always fun. But then there was the time where it was kind of like the future of it was questionable. Yeah. And then I know that you jumped in. So what was that?
Yeah.
Tell me a little more behind the scenes of
that. This is like one of those things. This is how it went. So I was sitting at my desk, which used to be in the roastery, and Joe was walking by, and I had just opened up this email, and it was just a cold call from the landlord saying, our tenant is gone. Would you ever consider putting a Publik in here? And I like turned my laptop. I'm like, and Joe goes, he's walking. He doesn't even stop. He looks, he kind of glances, he says, Publik ads. And he keeps walking. And like 10 seconds later, he does a 180. He comes back in and he goes, oh shit, we're doing that now, aren't we? And I was like, how can we not? You just branded it.
Like you just did half the work.
But it's like, yeah. So that's how that happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's been an interesting one because we opened in 2018. Mm-hmm. And then, as we all know, 2020 and 2021, the University of Utah was basically closed and remote. Mm-hmm. So we had no customers.
Yeah.
And we kept that one closed during COVID for about 450 days.
Wow.
It just couldn't. There was nobody there. Yeah. It was a ghost town. Yeah. And really, like, more than 90% of our customers are university, whether they're students or facilities or professors. So yeah, that one stayed closed. We just basically took all of the PPP for that one and paid our rent.
Yeah. Like, we're just going to keep
closed.
This here. We'll be back eventually.
Yeah. And I'm lucky because the other 3 buildings I own, which is really the only thing that saved us during 2020, because I was able to kind of be nimble. Even with all the grants and loans and all the things, it was still a little sticky and crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've talked to anybody during that time. It's like, yeah, no, we were fine. Like, everything was easy. We didn't have to think about anything new or try anything different.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, if you were like a pizza place.
Oh, yeah.
You were killing it.
Fair.
Yeah. The rest of us were sucking air and doing things like high beats.
Exactly. Hey, but it's a way to be nimble and think on your toes and do something new.
Yeah.
So the second one is, were you guys involved at all with like the Cotton Bottom rebrand and like revitalizing that?
No. So back to High Beats. Okay. So High Beats was just this. So Dean Perot's from Kachina on 2nd Avenue, Kachina Wine Bar. Yep. Scott Evans from Pago. Yep. And then James Roberts, who has Redirect Digital Marketing. The 4 of us came together. Now, James is part owner of Cotton Bottom.
Oh, okay.
So that might be where that integration seems. But James came to Dean and Scott and I, and we're sitting in the parking lot, like 8 feet apart at Kachina. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and Dean and James are like crushing bottles of rosé. And Scott and I are sitting there like, we're going to what? And James is like, I don't know. We just have to figure out how to save all the restaurants. And James is a big foodie, and he really does care about Salt Lake City, and he especially cares about the restaurants. He's like, we got to figure out a way. We got to save the restaurants. Yeah. And he's a digital marketing guy. So he's like, I'll build a website. He did it all pro bono. And then Scott and Dean and I on the website, they would take orders every Sunday night. And then on Monday, all those orders would be collated digitally. And then we would meet at the beer cooler at Shades, and Scott knew Trent from Shades Brewery. Trent gave us a little corner of his beer cooler, and Dean and Scott and I would collate all these orders, bag them, and then the 7 delivery guys that were part of this small business, like kind of organic delivery service up in Park City, would show up, and they would each take bags based on zip code and neighborhood. And, James digitized it all, so it was pretty easy, but it was ridiculous because there was not one week where we didn't fuck it up. I was customer service. So on Thursdays, the food would go out, and then I would just go home and get on my laptop and wait for the emails because I was like, we haven't made it a week. Like 3 fairly smart people could not figure this out. Like it was like, I ordered the meatballs from Trio, but I got the lamb shank from Kachina on 2nd Avenue. Like, okay. And then you'd be like, okay, drive over, switch the meals it was insane.
Yeah.
But we were in that beer cooler for weeks, like on Thursdays, like in beanies.
Yeah.
packing these bags, like stapling the shoe. I mean, you got your delivery. Like,
Totally.
Did we mess yours up?
No, mine was great.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, which is to be expected. I mean, I always tell, the quality of life is often correlated with the expectations that you have.
Yeah.
Because if you expect everything to go perfectly, guess what? You're already setting yourself up to be let down.
Yeah.
If you understand, like, yep, if we're going to have 100 orders, I hope 90% or whatever that benchmark is great.
Yep.
And then when you do it, you're like, cool, just a couple got screwed up or whatever.
We might have had 1 week where we did mess it up. Yeah.
I mean, credit where credit is. I would not have a day. It would be like, oh, Eric, guess what? Yeah, nothing went out actually, or something like that would happen.
I mean, it shouldn't have been that hard, but I think we were all just also kind of simultaneously traumatized and petrified. Like,
At the same
what's
time.
coming? Like, what does this mean for our restaurants? Like, how are we going to survive? Are we? Like,
Yeah.
And then it was just like this little kind of adventure of a distraction.
It doesn't sound boring at all.
It's never boring with Dean.
Good.
Yeah.
Those are the people you surround yourself with. Like, I've been thinking about that a lot recently of like, because every time I like talk to, like, 'cause there's like these weird tropes that people like to believe in themselves. Like, oh, I'm old, I'm boring. Like my back hurts. I don't see, I'm like, this isn't even true. You're just like repeating things. But like, I'll always gravitate more towards the people who it's like, well, I want to do, like, this is what I want to do. And if you're in, and let's do this. Buckle up, let's go.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't like being surrounded by sideliners. I like people who are playing the game, and those are my favorite people that have energy. They have wind in their sails. They're passionate.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I like to surround myself with. And Dean sounds like he's that guy.
He's one of a kind.
Ugh.
One of a kind. All of them. Scott and James too.
Yeah, Scott.
Yes.
Scott, I'm scheduling with.
Okay.
I need to circle back with him. Actually,
You
That's
make
reminded
sure
me.
you talk to him about high beats. I want to hear his like what is he thinking about now?
Yeah.
About it. Because
Postmortem. How are we feeling it went?
looking back.
The answer I always love to get in those. It's like, well, we learned a lot. It's like, yeah, I've got it.
Yeah.
Traumatic experiences, but good nonetheless.
Yeah. We had to do what we had to do.
So pandemic hits.
Yes.
Pandemic leaves and edging to more of, back to normalcy. But how did you pivot from there? I mean, what did your life look like after that?
So like 2021?
Yeah, a little bit around there.
Well, it's interesting because we were getting to a place at the end of 2019, kind of beginning of 2020, where I was really able to take a lot of steps back and get out of the daily and, skiing during the week and whatever else, and really had a lot of freedom. And again, Joe just having the reins and making it all happen. But then everything changed. And so I came back in hard and fast with him, like immediately. As soon as we closed down, everybody went home. Then we had the earthquake.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
So all of a sudden it was just back, and it basically, now it looks like we just were starting day one. But it was a really intense time. I mean, I've been set up so that I don't have a W-2, so I couldn't collect unemployment. But I had rent, but we weren't paying rent. And then PPP came in, so I was able to fill in a little bit, and just really got everything back on track with new systems. And of course, it was all the weird stuff. It was like contactless, pickups and masks and vaccines, and what does your signage say, and what is our place in the community, and what line are we going to walk? And we were like, you know what, we're just going to follow the CDC. We're not, obviously Salt Lake County also and Salt Lake City, but we were like, nobody really knows what to do, so we'll just follow the CDC. And we did that, and it angered a lot of customers, and it made a lot of customers very happy. But I had employees that were all over the spectrum too. They were like, we want to come back to work, right? And others that were like, I don't want to come back to work. I'm not sure I can ever come back to work. I don't know if I can be with people again. So 67 people having all of these different sensibilities. So it really was like starting over. We just started over, and things cost different things. There was a fuel charge on everything that year and the following year. And so I think Joe and I made a lot of sacrifices to keep people employed and to keep the doors open. And he really retooled a lot of the backside stuff of the way that we spend money, when we spend money, cash flow stuff. But then, the world opened back up and events came back. That was a huge, huge problem for us because that building on West Temple is so big. So the events carry a lot of that coffee house as far as the overhead. Because that's a massive coffee house.
Oh, and
it's 8,000 square feet without the 4,000 square foot event venue. I mean,
yeah, it's large. Like, 'cause the first time I ever went there, it was at, now it was like my first job when I moved back to Salt Lake. We had like our holiday party there, and it was like one of the, I can't remember the company that, is it Axis that rents all the casino equipment? Anyway, too many details.
Yeah.
But then it was like the first time I was there, I was like, oh, this is actually like a really cool space. Yeah. Like I will always appreciate a good event space. Yeah. And I mean, especially like where it is there, it's like, I like parts of Salt Lake where if I'm driving towards, I kind of feel a little dangerous, like, but also like curious enough to be like, well, it's gotta be something good if we're over here. And that's when you find like these gems. And I mean, that's the first time I found it. And then because that put it like in my head, then I was like, oh, I need to go there. And then I was living in Federal Heights at the time, and then driving downtown where that same job was, and I drive by this little coffee place because like I knew about it, but I'd forgotten about it. Yeah. And even to this day, I actually went on Sunday because I knew we were talking, and anytime there's like a food person, I like it just gets in my head, and I'm like, I need to go because my favorite like. I mean, it's not like a meal at a coffee place, but it's not like a treat. But like the toast with goat cheese and jam, always my favorite. Yeah. Like I can't, like once it's in my head, I can't get it out until I have it. So when snagged some toast and an Americano and went and took the dogs to Memory Grove. But
thank you.
But it's so fun to have those spaces, and like that's one thing I love about coffee places is you can tell pretty quick kind of what like the energy is like. And I always love places I walk in and it's like people could be waiting, but they're not mad. Like they like being in a place, and I always feel like I sense that there.
Yeah, I think each of the 4 Publics has its own personality.
Totally,
and it's driven by the employees, and then it's just driven by the customers, and it just kind of sets its own culture. But the West Temple one, it has its own personality within the staff, but it's changing all the time. Like even this morning, I walked through there, and I was like, "This is different." Like you can just feel it. It's just strange. That one just changes. It's a chameleon.
Yeah. I mean, especially with you spending so much time at all of them and seeing people come, people go, and you're like, oh, it has kind of changed over time. Like, oh, I like this. This is kind of like, this is new and unique. Yeah. And also to like just let them do what they're doing.
Everybody's positioned. They have all the tools they need for success, and it is running itself with a lot of elbow grease from Joe.
Yes, Joe is there to make sure it all comes together.
I'm just kind of like smiling and getting through the days.
Whatever you're doing it great.
I just have other things I want to do too.
Heaven forbid you've worked so hard to do so many things and you want to do things you want to do.
Some other things.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the other things. I mean, Publik isn't. I mean, day to day in the weeds of things. Joe is there. Yes. I mean, what else takes up your time, or what are you excited about that gives you?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Okay, so Junior League always. Spy Hop, just the best. I mean, the time that we all spend there together is really very minimal, but the stuff that's coming out of there and the kids that we're serving, just allowing me to stay on that board for so long. So I was on the hiring committee for Cassandra.
Wow.
And now she's retiring after 17 years. And like, I should have left that board so many times, but every single time we got there, it was like, okay, it's time to go. Like the demographic of the board wasn't right. Or then I got on board development, and I'm still on that, which is like helping build, like we have the most diverse board, which is just incredible from just all of it. And, but then we were awarded that land to build the building. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm not walking away now. Yeah, like I got to see this happen, now. Right? Yeah. So then I ended up being the co-chair for the Capital Campaign Committee, which that was like a 6-year lift. Yeah. And have you been there?
It's beautiful. I mean, that's where we recorded. I want to do an event on the roof, but I'm still thinking through the right way to do it. But that's a whole nother 2-hour conversation.
Anyway, that's 22,000 square feet of magic.
Yeah.
Right in the city. And that little neighborhood, when I bought my building over there, again, everybody thought I was crazy. I mean, they were like, what are you doing? Yeah. It's massive. It's on a one-way street.
Like, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I just have a feeling, like kind of like 9th and 9th. I was like, this will be okay. Yeah. I know this. But there's a little spy hop over there on that. Ugh, it's the best.
And that's one thing I love about like Spy Hop being right there, because I love the Central Ninth area. Like even this morning, I went to Blue Copper to go get a coffee. Yeah. I went to Central Ninth to go get a breakfast sandwich, and was happy as a clam. But I think I love about Spy Hop being there is it kind of brings this other element of community to it, because so many of the things that are there are, I mean, great restaurants, great coffee places, great bars of like everything from like Duffy, like love Duffy's, but like Duffy's to like Water Witch and Bar Gnome. Yeah. But like there really isn't a way to bring in kind of like a lot of like youth and a lot more kind of like families, and all of a sudden like boom, like Spy Hop. And you're like, oh my, like it makes complete sense. So I love how that all came together.
It's wonderful. And that was like that whole process, it seems like it was only like 2 years ago, but it was a long process. But the other thing that I'm really excited about is Ballpark Action Team.
Yeah, please.
And when you're asking about who you should have on the show, yes. Do you ever do duos? Have you ever done two people?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Fraser Nelson and Erica Carlson.
Okay.
Fraser and Erica are co-chairs of the Ballpark Action Team.
Perfect.
They both live in the neighborhood. And Fraser's on West Temple near the stadium, and Erica's like under the scoreboard. And I'm the business liaison, whatever that means. I guess it
means you get to be involved in another fun project.
Yeah, it's the best. But that is something you should definitely talk to them. But we're just doing things that matter to that neighborhood. Yeah. So the Publik Roastery is in that neighborhood, and then of course we just love Salt Lake City, and we were like, this stadium activation in the interim, as it's coming to be whatever else it's going to be within any expansion or development, we want to be a part of that. Yeah. So we started this little organization. We're a 501c3. Yeah. But we did banners. Michael Aberman is a graphic designer that also lives on West Temple. And he designed these banners that say welcome to Ballpark, but the welcome is in like 14 languages.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I love. And any update on there or things people should know about the project? Or?
Yeah, it's like, so the Utes baseball team is in there now, and they will go through June. And there has been an RFP released by the RDA and the mayor's office to groups that want to come in and help program. So in the interim for the next probably 3 years, while all of the development for that Ballpark Next, like all the scenarios, so they've narrowed it down, I believe, to one, which is keeping a lot of the stadium and then knocking down just the wings. They call them the wings. So it's like the most south and the most east.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like where the stadium kind of
on
isn't.
The fire station
it's like
side.
Where the outfield home run.
Yeah. So that's 13 acres. So the parking lot across 13th South is part of this development. Okay. And the fire station is moving a little bit south on Main Street, because Chief Lieb was even like, wait, is this an opportunity for you guys to get us off that corner? Because it messes up their entrance and exit with the trucks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that corner will be part of it. So there'll be development that's going on there, but they're not knocking down the stadium.
Cool.
And it was overwhelming. I mean, the neighborhood and anybody part of that process, it was an open public meeting. They just put Post-it notes up on, and it was like 2 were on knock it down and 2 were on keep the whole thing, and everybody else was in the middle, like 90 people. Yeah.
I mean, especially going to the, like what we were talking about is like doing what the people want, what's best for it outside of what you may or may want to happen.
Yes.
And so I love that neighborhood really has come together, because there's so many times, especially right now, that you see like these voices really do come together. Like this is a good one. I mean, even with like the Sizzler development in Sugar House, everyone's like, no, we don't want to come and go. Like this is an amazing space. Can we please make it something great? Exactly. And like, I don't even know where they're at with that, but
I don't either.
Yeah. If you know, let me know. Yeah. But so I guess to that point, if you could wave your wand and say, here's what we're doing, here's my vision. What
for the stadium?
What would you want to see there?
Oh, I would like, I mean, I put in a little submission. I didn't win. But, you know, beyond the outdoor space with a multitude of events like, you know, concerts and markets and like community activities, right? And family-friendly activities for that neighborhood that are really low entry, if not free. But all of those concession stands, like all of those little kiosks inside the concourse, I would be activating those with not just food and beverage, but like put a little mini like daycare, put a little library, put some retail, barbershop.
I love that.
Tattoo parlor, like, I don't know.
It's fun,
right?
Like it's already there.
Make it a destination.
Like we don't need to tear everything down to build something new. Like I always love creative thinking, especially when it's like, okay, here. I mean, especially when you look at. I mean, Salt Lake has done a good amount of work with preserving historical buildings. I mean, I guess you could kind of go a lot of different ways with that, but especially like residentially, but like to see something like the one that's up for conversation right now is like West High, and if they want to tear it down or not. And I love, like, you look at all the old high schools, like the old East High School, the old South High School, and they were so cool. Yeah. And then now to be, and like, I mean, like I went to East, like it's fun, like it's a school, like there's nothing great. Yeah. It's just like a very like sterile building. Yeah. But then, because I live by West and I drive by there frequently, and it's like I love how kind of like, I know, it's like that typical like 1990s rom-com.
It's like
it's a school.
Quintessential school.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. But like of seeing this challenge, because like a real estate developer, any real estate developer can tear it down and build something new. Yeah. But the best real estate developers are one, it's like, all right, what do we keep? What do we not do? And how do we make this work? And I think that's a perfect exercise for someone to come in and be like, yeah, let's activate this. What does the neighborhood need? Oh, we need daycare. We need, I mean, these community, I mean, like you said, I mean, community activation, whether it be, I mean, public or private sectors, but I'm with you.
Yeah. I think the website, I think there's a website called ballparknext.com. Okay. Or SLC in there somewhere maybe. But I think it lays out the whole trajectory of how this all happened and the calendar and like what is currently happening and what's next. But yeah, I don't see where they're knocking it down.
Cool. Good. That makes me happy.
Which is great. Yeah.
Okay. So Ballpark's one thing you're working on, you're excited about. Yeah. What else? What else is taking up your time?
Just, protecting the brand of Publik. I'm actually officially the director of wholesale coffee sales. Okay. Because there's nobody else to do it. Yeah. So it's been fun. We've got restaurants and, different kinds of offices, law firms, a couple different coffee places. And then we're doing all the coffee for the Utah Jazz training facility and the Utah Hockey Club training facility and Real Salt Lake.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's all that's been fun. Yeah. That's my job.
Well, I mean, that's like there's like two kind of businesses that I'm always curious to see from afar because they like intrigue me. So when I was in Seattle, I was doing merger and acquisitions, and because we were in Seattle and because of some of the people that worked there, did a lot of coffee deals. Yeah. And it was always interesting to kind of get to know, I mean, like first wave, second wave, third wave coffee, or like kind of understand more of the business model because, I mean, it's one thing to, go buy your La Marzocco and put it up in a place and like start slinging espresso. But then it comes to one thing like, oh, now we're roasting our own beans. Yeah. And then once it becomes like, to your point, the wholesale side of things, being like, I mean, that's where like the sky's the limit on it. And especially fun because you get to partner with the Jazz, Utah Hockey Club, Real Salt Lake, and all of these kind of more, it's a great way to interact with the community in a same way, but different way, but also still same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a couple things about that. Like, one thing is, my opinion is Salt Lake City is now fully saturated in coffee. There's plenty of coffee. I think there are 12 places to get coffee on 9th South between like 3rd West and 13th East. Yeah. 12. I mean, there used to be like 5 good roasters in Salt Lake City like in 2014. Yeah. Right? So now it's just... And a lot of people doing really great coffee, but I feel like it's.
There's other things we need, and it's not coffee.
Yeah, there are a lot of things we need, and it's probably not. But then, like our coffee, like we're legit. Like Silvana's down there doing her thing. I mean, she is all coffee all the time, 24/7, 365. Her days off, she's thinking or posting or reading. I mean, I never see her not doing coffee. She's our director of coffee. She's our green coffee buyer. She's our head roaster, and she's a Q grader, which is like a sommelier. And there aren't that many of them. There are, I think, 1,500 in the country. And like 6,000 or 7,000 in the world. Wow. Something like that. I might have those numbers.
So she knows her shit and she gives a shit.
Yes. Yeah. Our secret ingredient is we give a shit. Sure. So we were given best coffee roaster in Utah by Food and Wine in 2022. And that's like a blind competition. Yeah. Like somebody out there ordered a bag of our coffee. We don't know who they were. And then we were just awarded this.
By the way, you won this. Like, we won what now?
But basically, somebody saw it posted on Instagram and was like, "Hey," and we were like, "Huh?" Yeah.
We didn't even know this was happening.
Yeah. And then Sylvana was like, "What did you do?" I was like, "I didn't do anything." I was like, "I didn't pay for this."
Yeah.
I was like, "You did this."
Yeah, this is all you. This is
did
years and
this.
years and years of work to get this accolade.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. So. Yeah. What else? Anything else you're working on?
No, I think it's enough to, like, Ballpark Action Team and Publik and Spy Hop and
that's a lot. To be fair, like, it's not like, oh, that's it. It's like,
no,
there's just so few people who have their hands in so many pots and get to interact with so many fun people. I always pick their brain when I can.
Well, I'm joining the board of the Wasatch Food Co-op.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and that's going into to Ninth South.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I've exchanged a couple emails and messages with, I can't think of their name, but familiar.
Adelaide.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got invited to join that board. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I love that I'm good at is asking for big chunks of money. Like, don't send me in anywhere and ask for a gift card for some, opportunity drawing thing. But like, if I'm the one that needs to ask for $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, if it's not for me, right? It's just to make the city better.
Yeah, like, listen, you've given me money before. We've done some cool things. Yeah. Here I am again.
Look at this.
In or out. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's only a few people who, if I had millions of dollars and they're like, hey, I have a product, like, that's all I need to know. Like, how much? Cool, Missy, go have fun again. Go make something great.
Well, I think this will be really great. And that building is coming together so beautifully. Yeah. And Kathia, who owns it, she's so wonderful. And she's putting Equality Utah upstairs and then the food co-op downstairs and Ma's Pizza, and I can't remember who else is in the main building. And then on the east is like a little satellite building, and it's going to have Native Flower Company, and I don't know if I know, but Kathia is so great.
No, it'll be such a great addition to that neighborhood. Because I guess you think about, because I love Ninth South. I mean, if anybody doesn't, it's like, why would I go to Ninth South? Like, you're way behind. You need to catch up with the rest of the class. But like, that's another thing. Again, going back to like that area becoming so much more of a community. Like, I mean, grocery store is one of the few places in 2025 society. It was weird to say that. 2025 society, like, where you're going to naturally bump into people.
Yeah.
So I love that addition, especially with it being a co-op and working with the.
You have to get a membership.
Yeah, even better.
Become a member. I'll figure out how to.
Only cool kids go to the co-op.
Yeah, exactly. That's good branding.
And I guess, like, when you think of Salt Lake and other people who are doing great things, I mean, who are people you look up to, mentors that you see, I mean, making a big impact here as well?
Oh my gosh. Well, definitely Fraser and Erica.
Yep.
Isaac Atencio, who's a Salt Lake barber and Culture Coffee.
Yes.
So Isaac and Eric have the two barber shops. Eric's kind of downtown and Isaac's over in Rose Park. Mm-hmm. And then next door to the Rose Park Salt Lake Barber is Culture Coffee. They're
yes,
attached.
I love Culture.
Yeah.
I love Culture. Here's the reason I go to Culture the most is so I live kind of right in between District Coffee, Blue Copper Coffee, and Culture Coffee.
Okay.
But the weird thing is, District Coffee and Blue Copper don't open till 8 in the morning.
Okay.
And in the summers, I golf a lot very early in the morning. Okay. And so there's one time I was like, I got 20 minutes. Let's go get a coffee, you know?
Yeah.
And so I go to Blue Copper, not there. I'm like, okay, not open. That's weird. And then go to District. I'm like, okay. So and then go to Culture. I was like, all right, you guys are now my my golf go-to place to go. But love that space. Love them. They're so nice.
Dallas Graham. Do you know Dallas?
Oh, I love Dallas. He's a member here. I see him semi-frequently. His best friend is my sister's boyfriend, David Garbett. Who,
he ran for mayor.
Yes, he did run for mayor. So I see Dallas all the time, and he's such a gem.
He's the best. I'm just trying to think of like different people, not food industry necessarily, right? You could go to Picnic and talk to V.
Talk to me about Picnic, because that came up when I talked with Helen and Reid about it.
Yeah, so V and Carly. So Carly was our baker at Publik, and V was our manager at Public Kitchen. And when I had to knock the building was sinking into the ground, like it was sinking. Yeah. And, I got ripped on for like knocking down an old historic building, which really, like, behind the walls, it had Band-Aids all day long. It was 1900s in the front, and then 1950 in the middle, and 1980 in the back. And like,
it's all coming down together.
It was it was crashing. Like it was, the floorboards were popping up. But V was our manager there.
Okay.
And Carly was our baker who was baking everything for Publik out of West Temple with 2 countertop ovens and an industrial mixer.
Wow.
And 1 refrigerator dedicated to her. So we knew we were knocking the building down. And John and Casey Francis, who had Amore Spreads and Amore Cafe, had already kind of come to me in like 2018, 2019, like, we don't really want to run a cafe. Would you guys run the cafe and we'll just do the jam in the back? And it's like, no. And then 2020 happens. They decide they're not reopening. And we got a grant from the SBA. And you had to use it in a very specific way in order for it to be a grant, not a loan. So we bought their businesses and we put V and Carly over there. So then Carly had a proper kitchen to bake. They were still continuing jam production under the Amore Spreads name, but we rebranded it as Picnic.
Yeah.
And Joe and I and Carly and V were the owners. But then we just, like in October, just this October, Carly decided the industry wasn't for her anymore. And V is now the sole owner over there. And we closed the jam down. We have a lot of inventory that's in the basement at Public Kitchen.
So is that the jam that I order when I get? Okay. It's all coming together now.
We have about a year and a half supply, and then we're going to have to start making certain ones because
it's your own specific food storage.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty wild. There's a lot of jam in the basement.
Wow.
But so that was Picnic. That was just the genesis of these 2 little baby goats, I call them, just the most hardworking and just like showed up in so many ways over the years. And then we were like, okay, you guys, we have this idea. You want in? You'd be an owner. And they were kind of like, I don't think we want this. And we were like, you want this?
Like, it's a trick question. The answer is yes.
And it's hard, you know, it's a hard being a business owner. But so V, she's so wonderful. She could tell you stories about pastries and slinging coffee. And then her family is like, she's second generation restaurant owner. But Kathia is her aunt. And
of course she is.
And that's just a coincidence. I mean, I knew that, but when Kath and I were talking about all of her construction along 9th South and just the impetus for her like buying up all this property, I have no idea. Yeah. But she's the best landlord in the city. She's the type of person that she takes care of her tenants. She takes care of them as if they're family.
Like, I feel like my landlord's kind of like my mom.
Yeah. Like the good mom. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love a good Small Lake City moment.
Yeah. But she'd be interesting too.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. And you know who else? Sheridan Mordew from Hip and Humble. So her story about airports.
That's true.
Is incredible. So Sheridan, Kathia, and I were on my deck in the summer of 2020. I think all of us were crying for different reasons. We just didn't know what was going to happen.
Everybody needed to vent and emotional release.
And Sheridan was like, I think I'm going to be the winner when I let you know that they're making me open my first airport store and no one's traveling. And
like, good news?
Yeah. So she now has like, I might get this wrong. So she has 2 in the Salt Lake Airport, 1 in Fort Lauderdale, Indianapolis. Like there's a Hip and Humble.
I didn't know that.
In all these airports.
Wow.
Yes. And the airport like process is so fascinating. It'd be fun to have her on and tell you like how it works.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, because we pitched and it's very complicated. So that the FAA requires a certain number of women, minority, and vet owners. And then each airport, like Salt Lake City, requires a certain number of local business owners. And then these tenants of the airport become your landlord, and you're the subtenant. Okay. Right? And you get pitched with these packages by these tenants that are pitching to the airport. Mm-hmm. So we didn't get picked.
Sad.
Twice. Yeah, we were in the wrong package. Yeah.
Wrong package. No, it sounds like a very easy process that's not
wild.
Overly complicated.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. I had no idea, but
the more you know.
We have a beautiful airport.
We do. Ugh.
Yeah. I feel really lucky. I can't believe the people that work for me and our customers and this city. And I think everybody should come try the new Publik kitchen, because when we knocked it down and rebuilt it, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been?
Yes. I need to go back though. It was
It's
like
really
grab a coffee.
pretty, and it's really like, it feels really good to be in this space. It's not the little old house, which kind of bumps some people out, but it's nice and light and bright, and the food is so damn good. And Jason and Berkeley and that team over there is doing such a good job with the food. And we have I don't know, they're just the greatest people working in that building and working in every Publik.
Yeah.
I love my people.
What more of a reason do you need to go check it out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Missy, I want to end with, only one question, because the other question I asked, we already answered of if you could have someone on the podcast, who would you have? And definitely want to talk to Fraser and Erica about that.
Yes.
But if people want to keep up to date with Publik, I mean, you and everything you do, what's the best place to find that?
I think our Instagram, Publik Coffee is one, Publik Kitchen is one, Publik Eds is one, and then Publik Space, the events. That's a whole thing. Like, that's a whole conversation. We just kind of use Instagram to keep people. And our website's really wonderful. It was done by Third Son, and they're here locally. If people need a website, those are the people to talk to. Third Son. And you can order coffee on the website. You can order merch on the website. You can send us nasty emails, and you can send us love letters.
Just like your Thursday emails you would sit down and receive when all of the orders were coming
mostly
in.
Good.
Yeah.
Mostly good. No, I don't know. Eric, this is fun. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Missy. It's
such a surprise to be reached out to.
No, I'm so grateful for everything you do and are doing. Like I said, if I had millions of dollars, I would just give you a card and say, just swipe wherever you need to and just do what you can.
Thank you. Well, if anybody out there has a card that they want to give me, I've got lots of places you can put your money.
Deal.
There's so many good things in this city right now.
Yeah, reach out to me. I'll put you in her direction and we can do some cool projects. Yeah. But Missy, thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thanks.
Keep doing what you're doing. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Oh, so glad you moved from Aspen and came here. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Salt Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.